Just don't cross the streams.
When someone asks you if you're a god, you say yes.
Yes.
I'll save it for the show. I did something pretty cool today. Retro-ish. Not retro gaming, but retro.
Looking forward to hearing it.
Let me make sure. Maybe make sure that all of my volumes are up. And that's up. That is down. That was a really good show we did last week. I was quite...
Yeah, I actually went back and listened to it. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, I don't like listening to myself talk. And so luckily we had someone like Scott Johnson who had a lot of good things to say, and I didn't have to talk as much.
You know, I've always said my voice is the cure for insomnia.
It is. Well, not yours, but mine. You have a good podcasting voice because you're always like right on top of stuff, and me, I'm just like, let's talk about video games.
You've got a much better voice, I think, though, because you sound like you've got the deep inflection. I'm just kind of meh.
Well, we balance each other out. I'll handle the bass end, and you handle the energy.
We just need 2 more, and we'll have a barbershop quartet.
Yeah. Why is there hair all over my screen? Stupid cat rubbing itself on my screen. Damn it.
It's what cats are best at.
Yeah, the little assholes. They're like little furry ninjas that try to trip you and kill you in the middle of the night.
Pretty much.
All right, so we're good to go?
Yes, sir.
All right. Let me make sure I got everything pulled up. All right, let me make sure this is working. Yep, that's working. Why are you not starting over? Why is that not starting over? Something is busted. Ah, there we go. Okay. Stupid soundboard. All right, here we go. You ready?
Yes, sir.
3, 2, 1. This episode of Nerd Cave Retro is brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/nerdcave. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player.
You're listening to the Nerd Cave Network.
Greetings, programs, and welcome back to the Nerd Cave Retro Show. My name is Jason Robbins.
And I'm Derek Diamond.
So, Derek, what you been up to this week?
Well, it's been kind of a long work week. It's been very busy, but I've gotten to do a couple of cool things. Some I'll mention at the end of the show whenever we do our plugs and whatnot, but I'll say it's going to be a very busy couple of weeks for my other show, which is not a bad thing.
That's the thing. You told me a couple months ago, you're like, yeah, I think I'm just going to go down to like maybe twice a month. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. You do what you got to do. Next thing you know, it was like every day it was like Derek Diamond Experience. Like, you were supposed to go to twice a month, not like twice a week.
I know, it's like the opposite.
Yeah.
That's something that, because I listen to some shows that do run, multiple episodes a week. I feel like you don't give an episode enough room to breathe if you do like Tuesday, Thursday, or Wednesday, Friday, or Monday, Wednesday. Because you really, like, say you do Tuesday, Thursday, that Tuesday episode really only has 2 days to be relevant.
Yeah.
And then when the next one comes out, you're like, well, why would I listen to the Tuesday one? I can just wait for the Thursday one. So it's been a busy time, but I'm sure it'll slack off eventually. It's weird because this is the time of year that I feel like I have too much content for it, and then from April to like November, there's nothing.
Well, that's why you should backlog all that stuff, man, and just release it when you got nothing coming out. You'll have a backlog of stuff saved up.
That's true. I have done that in the past, because I remember when I did that Disney World roundtable with you and Wally, I kept that in the can for like 6 months. Oh my
God, I forgot we did it. It came out, I was like, oh, I forgot we did this.
Because I remember we did it right after I went to Disney back in December of 2016.
Yeah, it was right after I went too. Because I went in November.
Yeah, I forgot we went right around the same time.
Yeah, like a month apart.
So we'll see what happens. But I'll plug the details at the end of the show. But no, it's been long work days. But other than that, it's been a relatively uneventful week. What about you?
It's been a slow week because the weather prevented me from being able to get to my job the middle of the week, because all the bridges were closed because of ice. And so I couldn't get to work. At least, got a day off in the middle of the week. But of course, that caused me to have to do all my jobs that I needed to get done on the remaining 2 days of the week. So that was fun. I'm not a fan of freezing weather. I don't know about you, because we're not used to it here along the Gulf Coast. We get, like maybe 10 days of cold weather, like not all at once. Yeah. Normally we get like maybe 10 days of cold weather throughout the year, like spread out. Like if you've ever been to like anywhere along the Gulf Coast, like those of you who listen to this show and you don't live anywhere near the south or the coast or anything, normally it's like, January 10th and it'll be 85 degrees outside. And then the next day it plummets to like 12. And then by like 1 in the afternoon, it's back up to like 80 degrees. So that's usually what it's like around here. But no, dude, this has been like nuts, like days and days of like sub-zero temperatures. And we're just not used to it. We don't have the clothing. We don't have the acclimation to the weather that most people that live in that kind of climate have. So it's been really trying to try to stay warm. Like, I'm sure that my electric bill is going to be awful next month, because I can't stand being cold, and I just crank the heater up to like 75.
It's interesting because I remember 3 years, no, it was now 4 years ago. I keep forgetting this is 2018. 4 years ago, we had a pretty bad ice storm here. I don't know if it happened where you live, but
yes, and
I remember I had to. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I can tell you, I live right in where, like, not too far away from a bridge that connects the town that I live to Biloxi over the bay. It's called I-110. And during that ice storm, all I could hear when I went outside was skidding cars, and then nothing but police sirens all night. Like, there were just car wrecks the entire night that ice storm hit. So that was fun.
Yeah, because this was before I actually moved to Pensacola. I had to leave work early that day because the bridges were going to freeze, and I would have had no way to get home. So then we had no work the next day because there's too much ice on the bridge, so they were closed down. And I still have pictures somewhere on my phone, but it starts raining as I'm driving home, and when I get home, the entire front of the car plus the mirrors were covered in ice. Ugh. It was pretty wild. But no, this to me feels like the first legit winter we've had since then.
Yeah, it's It's an effect of climate change, and we're going to have to accept that fact that we're going to start getting more and more extreme weather. And the thing that scares me is last year we had a hurricane a week before Halloween. What's it going to be like this year? And it's just going to get worse. So we may look into moving like far away from here.
Understandable.
Oh, speaking of the cold weather, I got a new car a couple of months ago. I got a 2015 VW Beetle. Not designed for cold weather. And let me tell you why. Because my windows are automatic windows, and when you open the car door, the way the car doors work is when you open the door, the window comes down a little bit. So you can open the door, you get in, and when you shut the door, the window goes all the way up and seals you in, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
When the window ices up, I can't open the door because the window won't go down. So when it's freezing outside, I can't get in my car. And I found that out when I was trying to go to work Thursday morning.
Jeez.
That is an absolutely horrific design flaw for this car.
Yeah.
And I thought I was going to have to, well, the thing I did was I just went and got some like lukewarm water and poured it down into the window along the door to kind of, warm it up enough to where the window would go down. It's the only way I can get in my car. What were they thinking? I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't understand the logic behind that one.
It's stupid. But speaking of retro stuff, I did something pretty cool today before we go into our news segment. Are you familiar with flashback cinema?
The name sounds familiar.
Well, our local theater, it's a Grand Theater, and I'm not sure who owns it. It's called the Grand, but on Sundays and Wednesdays, they do flashback cinema. At the end of last year, I missed it, but they had Die Hard in the theater for Christmas and New Year's.
Nice.
I missed it. But today, we actually got to go see Alien in the theater, and it was
cool.
Awesome. I never got to see it in the theater, and I highly recommend it. It's going to be playing Wednesday night. If you live anywhere near a cinema that does flashback cinema, I think they do it all over the country, wherever these Grand Theaters are. So if you're near a Grand Theater, Wednesday night, go watch Alien on the big screen. It's awesome.
That's fantastic.
And
I don't know if we have a theater around here that does that, but I have to look into it.
It holds up like crazy on the big screen. I thought maybe there'd be like some bad special effects, because as much as I love Ghostbusters, when it's on the big screen, you can really see the flaws in it, and I don't like that. But Alien, there's hardly any flaws in it. It holds up. You could release it today, and it would look just as good.
Oh, that reminds me. I did do one cool thing yesterday. I got a movie pass. Or I applied for a movie pass.
Wally got one, and I'm thinking about getting one myself.
I mean, being able to see pretty much unlimited movies for $9.99 a month.
It's not bad.
You can't beat it. And I live like a block from a movie theater, so
I was thinking about really getting a gym membership for $10 a month, but I'll go to the movies.
Yeah, why do that when you can have much more entertainment?
Why improve yourself when you can just go watch your betters on a movie screen?
Right.
So let's go ahead and move into the news for this week. Oh, why am I playing that? That's the wrong thing. Hold on. There it is. Awesome. One day I'm going to get used to this soundboard, and I'm going to be able to use it without telling people that I'm screwing up. So hopefully that day will come. So the first story we have is from Nintendo Life. There's a rumor that Sega and Retrobit might actually be working on a secret retro console. It wasn't so long ago that we reported on the exciting collaboration between Sega and retro hardware maker Retrobit. Sadly, that partnership only extends to accessories for classic Sega machines, but now the rumor mill has fired up yet again with murmurings that the two really are working on a secret project, and it could actually be a new retro console. Should be taken with a pinch, taken with a grain of salt, but most of it was coming from the staff of Retrobit, who reportedly been hinting at such a project while promoting its new Mega Drive Genesis accessories at CES 2018. Let's see, where's the Twitter? They did some kind of a, they did Sega Europe tweeted out, how about a fun midweek nostalgia poll? Which Sega home console did you love playing the most? What game was your absolute favorite? Everybody said, voted Dreamcast. And then Retrobit tweeted, I don't know about you guys, but I'm interested in Sega updates. So I really don't see what they're seeing with these tweets, but I wanted to bring this up just to kind of throw it out there and see what we kind of think about this. Do you think that it's feasible or economically feasible for Sega to come out with their own consoles, much like Nintendo did with the mini editions of the Nintendo and Super Nintendo?
I don't see why not, but I'll tell you why. If this is the case, I'll tell you exactly why I think it is the Dreamcast, because so many other companies have done a Genesis.
Yeah.
I was even at the mall earlier today, and I saw 2 different versions of a Genesis retro console.
Yeah, but most of them suck, though.
That is true. That is very true. But to me, the Dreamcast, I think, would be the most likely because of that reason. Yeah. And the Dreamcast had some cool games on it. It obviously did not do well because it was Sega's last console, but I'd like to see it. I'd be interested in getting a Dreamcast Mini if that were the case. I mean, even if it's a Genesis, I would probably do it if it's actually legit and made by Sega.
Yeah.
But that's my logic behind the Dreamcast.
That's the only way I would buy one of these Genesis consoles, like miniature consoles, is if it was branded by Sega.
Yes.
Because who is it that makes the ones that suck? Normally I can say it right off the top of my head, but I can't.
We've talked about the company before.
Yeah, because they've done quite a few things that are awful.
I'm looking it up right now. Let's see. God, my internet's so slow today.
Yeah.
That doesn't have the brand on it.
Oh. Well, people out there know what we're talking about. But if you go into any sort of like CVS or, a Rite Aid, you can find these. I've even seen them at the dollar store before, like these miniature Sega consoles, and most of the reviews for these consoles are just they're awful. The hardware sucks. The emulation's bad. Colors aren't right. Sound's not right. I think it would be good for Sega to actually pull, do a mini Sega Genesis and put it out Sega branded. I think they can make a lot of money off of that. A lot of people have nostalgia for the Sega Genesis.
Mm-hmm. No, I totally agree with that. But our next story also comes to us from NintendoLife.com. Steve Wiebe, hopefully I'm pronouncing that name correctly.
It's
Wiebe. All right. Steve Wiebe reclaims Donkey Kong world record. Billy Mitchell, Hank Chen, Steve Wiebe, these men are the giants of Donkey Kong, throwing the world record around like a numerical barrel. Chen bested Mitchell, then Mitchell topped Chen, and now longtime underdog Steve Wiebe has reclaimed the top spot by a whisker. Mitchell's previous best stood at 1,062,800, with Wiebe's new world record reaching 1,064,500.
I don't think it's going to be possible to get much higher than that, because the problem with Donkey Kong is you hit a kill screen at a certain point. So it's really all a matter of, they're going to have to, it's all in how they get through each level, how many points they can rack up, because you can only get to a certain point in the game before the game just shits out on you because of a kill screen. It just wasn't meant to go on forever. You hit it like a certain screen and it ends. Or, it doesn't end. the screen just goes all, glitchy because it can't handle it past that point.
Right. I mean, it is kind of interesting, seeing these three kind of exchange the record.
Yeah, it's funny.
I admire the dedication.
Yeah, we just talked about this, like a month ago, if that?
Yeah.
So it's crazy.
It's
and if this interests you, which it really should, go check out the documentary, King of Kong. And I think you can pretty much get it. You can rent it on Amazon Prime or iTunes. It's worth the rental because it takes something as dumb as, trying to get a high score on a video game and makes it just like you just root for this guy. And of course they make poor Billy Mitchell, like they make that dude out to be the villain in like every single video game documentary. Like it's that mullet he's got. He's got to do something about the mullet. And
he didn't really help his case.
He's like an 80s action movie bad guy.
Yeah.
Poor Billy Mitchell, man. I really would eat some of that guy's hot sauce if I could get my hands on some, because he's like the hot sauce king of Chicago or something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, but go check out that documentary. You can get it on Amazon Prime or wherever you can rent movies from. It's definitely worth it. But that's it for our news this week. Let's go ahead and move into This Month in Video Game History. And on January 1st of 1986, Commodore releases Mindwalker for the Amiga. It keeps running unmodified on all versions of the Amiga hardware and operating system.
I know we've talked about the Amiga before. I don't remember ever hearing of this game.
I haven't either. There is actually a documentary about the Amiga. I think that's on Amazon Prime right now that I've been wanting to watch. I just haven't had a chance to.
I didn't even know there was a documentary.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of it. I guess just go on Amazon Prime and put in Amiga documentary, and it'll bring it up for you if you're interested in watching that.
I mean, the screen cap here on the Wikipedia article, it looks like a very like Tron-esque early 80s type of game.
Yeah, it sort of has almost like a 3D, I don't know, like a pinball maybe sort of thing. Not sure.
Yeah.
It's some sort of a puzzle game. We'll give it that.
Yeah. On January 14th, 1987, Nintendo releases Zelda 2: The Adventures of Link for the Famicom Disk System in Japan only. The game would go unreleased in America for nearly 2 years afterwards.
And speaking of Legend of Zelda: Adventure of Link, I just got it this week.
You did?
Yep.
Yeah, you posted that on Instagram. At Nerd Cave Retro.
Yeah, I got it from a friend of mine named Mike Comstock, who you can look him up on Instagram. It is at Shelf Stored Memories. And you should see this guy's house. He's got just like old like Star Wars figures, like pretty much every kind of like toy action figure accessories from the 80s. He's got it. Like his house is like a museum. And he was telling me last week, he's like, hey, I got this box of retro gaming stuff in my storage shed. So whatever's in there, whatever's in there that you don't have, you can take. I was like, okay. So I ended up getting like 5 games from him. And thank you to him. I got Rygar, Adventure of Link, Hudson's Adventure Island. Let's see, what else did I get? Something called Slalom, which I'd never even heard of it before then. Complete Inbox, and Spy vs. Spy, the old Mad Mad Magazine cartoon. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's what I got this week.
Did you play Adventures of Link?
I did for about an hour, and I don't know what I'm doing. And I'm going to need a walkthrough. So, because I can't find where I'm supposed to get the stupid candle to go in the damn caves to go where I need to go.
Yeah. That's kind of one of the drawbacks. I mean, that you kind of get thrown in the first Zelda game, but at least you have somewhat of a starting point. But with Zelda 2, you're just thrown right in. Yeah. And you have no idea what you're doing. I tried playing it not too long ago on the, I think it's on the NES Classic. I'm pretty sure it is, but it's still, along with which I don't even count them, but the CDI games, this is like the redheaded stepchild of the Zelda franchise.
Yeah.
It's just, to me, it's not, even the platforming aspect, I don't completely mind, but it's just not a very good game. And I'll totally own that, being the diehard Zelda fan that I am.
I am going to give it a good try because I do want to review it soon. But if I can't get past the first damn level, I'm just going to give it an F because it's not very intuitive at all. And I don't like the 2D like side scroller part of it. That's not Zelda. It's not. So I don't know what they were thinking. And I wanted to say hi to Shinob Zero, who was talking to me in the chat room, and I wasn't even watching. So hi, Shin, and glad you're here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's see. On January 26th of 1996, Guardian Heroes came out on the Saturn by Treasure Company Sega. Never heard of this before. It's a beat 'em up game developed by Treasure. I guess it's just called Treasure, is the company that made it, and it's one of the defining games of the Saturn. I'm gonna admit I never had a Sega Saturn, and I've never even played one before.
I actually don't think I have either. No, because I played the Genesis. I played the 32X adapter. No, I never played the Saturn.
It says it's a 2D side-scrolling beat-em-up video game in the vein of Final Fight or Golden Axe, but with RPG elements. That actually sounds kind of interesting. I like those kind of games.
Yeah, I do too. I've never even heard of this game before.
I haven't either. It'd be interesting to check it out.
Yeah. Also on January 26th, 1996, Blazing Heroes was released for the Saturn. It was a turn-based strategy game developed by Microcabin. Again, never
heard of them.
I couldn't tell you a single game for the Saturn other than the two that we're talking about tonight.
Yeah. Me neither.
Interesting.
As far as I know, the Saturn only had like 5 games, and one was like Echo the Dolphin, wasn't it?
I think so. He should make a comeback.
Yeah, maybe they will. You never know. Like, who doesn't want to play a dolphin in their video game? On January 29th of 1996, Duke Nukem 3D came out on the PC by 3D Realms GT Interactive, a genre redefining title for the first-person shooters. Who doesn't like Duke Nukem?
I wish there was a Duke Nukem movie. I'm kind of surprised there hasn't ever been one.
Actually, there kind of is. You just kind of, what you need to do is you just need to go through and clip out about 5 minutes of Arnold's movies from the 90s, like the 5 best minutes of each movie, and just mash them all together into one movie.
Get to the chopper. Oh, good stuff. Yeah, but no, I mean, everybody knows who Duke Nukem is. He's one of the most popular video game characters from the 90s.
Oh, of course. I don't know if I ever played Duke Nukem 3D though. Was this the first one? It's
let me. I just closed out the page.
I remember playing Duke Nukem earlier than that.
No, it's the sequel. It's the third game.
Oh, okay, yeah. Because I remember playing Duke Nukem on in the classroom when I was in 11th grade in my programming class. Yeah, it said first release was Duke Nukem, July 1st, 1991. Yeah, it doesn't say the second release, but that sounds more more like it. And then there was Duke Nukem. What is this called? Oh, this is for the Duke Nukem Advance for the Game Boy Advance. No, that was 2002. Huh. There's a lot of Duke Nukem games. I didn't even realize this. There's Duke Nukem Time to Kill in 1998. Duke Nukem 0 Hour, 1999. Duke Nukem Land of the Babes. Duke Nukem Manhattan Project. Duke Nukem Advance. Duke Nukem Critical Mass. And then in 2011, Duke Nukem Forever. I didn't know there was this many Duke Nukem games. It's crazy.
I didn't know the first one was made all the way back in 91.
Yeah, I was
That's
14.
insane.
I know. That's crazy.
See, I was 4.
I was 11. Or no, wait. Hold on. 1991, I was 14. Where did I get 11 from? Jason does math.
And 5.
Uh-oh. Don't tell me that. Hold on, let's pause it for a second till I can get Derek back. Come on, Skype. Let's do this. I love you, Skype. I guess I should hang up and then call him back. It says he isn't online. Well, that's awesome. Okay. Thanks, Skype. Thank you, Skype. Hello.
I hate Skype. It does not like these video podcasts that I do for some reason. Like I don't know if it's this new software I have, but it's like it crashes. It seems like every week now.
I don't know. I think it's just Skype itself. There's really...
It could be.
We could go to Discord, but Discord has its own problems, so we just kind of gotta deal with it.
Yeah. So anyway, as I was saying, to round out this month in video game history, because why not talk about Mega Man again? On January 31st, 1996, Mega Man X3 was released for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, the third X installment in the popular Mega Man franchise. There's got to be some kind of streak going where we mention Mega Man like every week on the show.
I think so. I think we've mentioned Mega Man on every single episode of the show. It's just the running thing. There's Mega Man all over this joint.
Yeah. It's got to be at least... Well, because December was the anniversary of the original game. And I want to say ever since then, we've mentioned it every single week. So that's got to be, what, like a 6-week stretch?
Yeah, I think so.
Something like that.
I'm really excited for that Mega Man 10 that's coming out later this year. I really want to get my hands on that, especially on the Switch. Oh, that's going to be so fun. God,
right?
Now.
It's going to be good. It's going to be really good. But no, I've as I've mentioned, you know, I sound like a broken record at this point. I've briefly played Mega Man games and definitely not played any of the X games.
You have the NES Classic, don't you?
I do.
I think Mega Man 2 is on there. Go play it.
All right.
And do the walkthrough. You don't have to do a walkthrough, but at least go online and look up the correct order of the way you should do, because it's one of those games where you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, like 9 bosses, 10 bosses you have to go through before you get to Dr. Wily. But each boss has a weapon that is very effective against a different boss. So you should start off with a certain boss and then use his weapon on the next boss. And then, of course, once you get right before you get to Dr. Wily, you got to fight all those guys all over again. So it's really good training before you get to that point. Hey, if I can do it, you can do it.
I will keep that in mind.
I believe in you, Derek.
Oh, I'm glad someone does.
Let's. What are you listening to this week, Derek? As far as books,
I actually finished a book.
Really?
Mm-hmm. So for you, the listeners of the Nerd Cave Retro podcast, Audible is offering a free audiobook download with a free 30-day trial to give you the opportunity to check out their service. I briefly mentioned this book last week. Let me pull up the title just because it's kind of a long title, so I want to get it right. It's by Chris Jericho. It's called "No is a Four-Letter Word: How I Failed in Spelling but Succeeded in Life." It's a combination of motivational speaking, autobiography, and just fun, entertaining story. So each chapter has a different principle that he learned from other various celebrities on how to succeed in life. So it's a really good book, and it's short too. It's only 5.5 hours long.
Yeah.
And Chris Jericho himself reads it, and he's very well spoken and whatnot. So he makes it fun and interesting to listen to. So I would definitely give that a listen. Other books, they have Star Wars, they have fiction, nonfiction, gaming, autobiographies. Any book you can think of, Audible has. And if you're always on the go like I am, Audible is a great service to have to be able to continue to read without having to sit down and read a physical book. And to do that, go to audibletrial.com/nerdcave. Again, that's audibletrial.com/nerdcave for your free audiobook download and 30-day free trial.
And this week we're going to be talking about rockin' Capcom music from back in the 80s. Gotta love it. Strider is a side-scrolling action-adventure game released by Capcom for the Nintendo Entertainment System in North America in 1989, while the development of the NES version of Strider was produced in tandem with the arcade version. The Japanese version for the Famicom was never released. The NES version of Strider included in the 2006 Game Boy Advance compilation Capcom Classics Mini Mix. And also something I found out recently also, there was also an arcade version of Strider, but the NES version was different than the arcade version because apparently the arcade version was more straightforward, kind of side-scrolling, beat-em-up type of thing, while the NES version is based on more of the manga in Japan. It's called, Strider Hiryu, manga illustrated by Tatsumi Wada from its May to October issues in 1988. A single collected volume was published in November of the same year. The manga features the same characters and basic plot that was later used for the NES version, but with several differences to how the story transpires. In addition to the 6 main chapters, an uncollected chapter titled Strider Hiryu Gaiden was published after the main series was completed. The additional chapter depicts the circumstances involving the death of Hiryu's sister, Maria. That's really cool. I as a kid, I didn't even know this was manga. I was just a really huge Capcom fan as a kid. There was the Mega Man series. There was all the Disney afternoon titles like DuckTales, Mickey Mouse Capade, Chippendales Rescue Rangers. What I thought to me when I was a kid, Capcom was the best publisher for the Nintendo. I mean, they had some missteps here and there, but as far as they go, I mean, Capcom always had the best graphics, the best music, the best gameplay, and while that is true for some of the games like DuckTales, Mega Man, or Mega Man 2 most notably, a lot of the games don't hold up as well today. Like most of the Disney stuff that they had, like Mickey Mouse Capade, that Tailspin doesn't hold up. And the thing about Strider is this is one of the few games that, like a handful of games that I actually finished as a kid, thanks to Nintendo Power issue number 7 that came out in 1989, and it had a layout of the first 4 levels of Strider. And I used that to get up. I think there's only 6 levels to the game. But when I was playing this the other night, I really wish I still had that Nintendo Power, because I was so lost playing this game. And it's not like it's it's difficult or anything. And it's those kind of games where it's not linear. You start off, you're a ninja, and you're going, your base is this really cool looking like dragon spaceship, sort of thing that, orbits the Earth, and you get shot down to Earth whenever you need to go do a mission or something, and you get this mission to go kill someone, and you have to go to the first level, and you get a floppy or a couple of floppy disks, and then you go back to your ship, but you can't finish most of the level because you need to kind of upgrade to be able and get different keys to go in these different levels. There's like, you get the level 1 key, the level 2, level 3 keys, but you can't finish the level, so you got to keep going back to the ship. You analyze your discs, find out where you need to go next, and then you go, like, you start off in like Kazakhstan, and then you can either, like, I got the first 2 discs, and you can either go to like Australia or Egypt to go, to do your next thing. It tells you, like, you need to go get this person such and such from Egypt, so you got to go down to Egypt. It's really a cool game, but like I said, it's not linear, and without a walkthrough or some sort of, like the Nintendo Power issue number 7, it's going to be really hard to get through this game without, like, knowing really where you're going or what you're doing. I mean, not that takes away from the game. It's a really fun game. I did have a lot of trouble with the controls aren't as smooth as I remember them being as a kid. Like, it's really hard to jump with any sort of degree of accuracy, and there's a lot of jumping involved in this game. But controls are a little wonky, but it doesn't really take away from the enjoyment of the game. I can see this being a game that, I really want to dig myself into. Like, I'll admit, I only got to play it for a few hours. I do remember beating this as a kid, so I have played it all the way through before. But as an adult, I need help.
Mm-hmm. Well, I might surprise you with this, but until you mentioned it last week, I had never even heard of this game before.
Really? Like, this was always like... I think the thing that drew me to this game was the cover art was so visually striking.
It reminds me a little bit of like a G.I. Joe type style.
Yeah, that's really what it reminded me of as a kid. And like I said, Capcom was just the end-all, be-all of publishers when I was a kid. Like, you saw a Capcom game, you knew it was going to be good. And of course, the older you get, the less they hold up. But the games that were good still hold up. I think this one still holds up. It's got its problems, but as far as the layout of the game, I like games that aren't linear, that you have to go and you find different things, and you have to find out where you got to go next and get certain objectives. It's a lot like, I don't really know what to compare it to. I would say like I don't know. There's really no other game like this one that I can think of right offhand.
I get what you're saying, though.
But yeah,
it's interesting. Mentioning Capcom is that they're even still making games to this day.
Yeah,
and they're still like they're one of those companies when you think of like obviously you think of Nintendo, but Capcom's one of like the first 3 or 4 names that comes up just because of their pure longevity. They've been making games since the NES days and still going strong. So, but though this one kind of slipped through the cracks for me because, I've mentioned this before, but, I did play the NES when I was a kid, but I didn't like really go all in on games until the Super Nintendo came out. So a lot of the NES titles kind of passed me by, but the concept of it sounds really cool as far as the story and having to, go to different locations and do missions and, looking at a little bit of the gameplay and whatnot. It looks like your classic solid NES game.
Yeah, and under gameplay it says this iteration of Strider differs from the arcade version in that the player must find clues and items to progress. The game opens on the Strider's base of operations, the Blue Dragon, which transports Hiryu to various areas across the world. At the beginning of the game, only Kazakh is available, but eventually the player unlocks Egypt, China, and Africa, among others, by collecting discs. These discs contain information pertinent to the plot, provided by several characters who often also grant Hiryu new abilities. New abilities unlock previously impassable areas, forcing the player to backtrack to obtain new items and discs. To return to the Blue Dragon, the player must return to the beginning of the arena and jump against the uppermost left edge of the screen. And that was something that I actually remembered after playing this for about 45 minutes to an hour the other night, because I couldn't figure out where to go. And then, because a lot of the levels were locked to me. And I was like, well, how the hell do I get out of here? And then I remembered, I was like, I think you got to do something weird where you got to go back to the beginning of the stage. And I was just, screw it. I just went back to the beginning of the stage. And of course, it shot me right back up to the Blue Dragon. I was like, oh, yeah. If you didn't know about that before, like, how would you know that?
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like things like that, like I said, you really need some sort of, not necessarily a walkthrough, but, certain, like, read something or watch a video to kind of get a basic understanding of, how to play the game.
Yeah. I also see here on gameplay that they use the password system.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's not bad, though. I would much rather have, like, at all times, I would rather have a battery backup. But it's really not that big of a deal, especially for this type of game. But man, I'm really congested tonight. I apologize. but yeah,
that's all good.
It's really not that big of a deal as far as the save feature goes. I would prefer, as always, I would prefer battery backup, but yeah, it's still, it's worth having. And of course, whenever I do my password systems now, I just pull out my phone, take a little quick shot of the screen. It's not as daunting as it was when you were a kid, because you had to make sure that because a lot of passwords used uppercase and lowercase. Not only that, but sometimes you get your O's and zeros mixed up too. So now with the invention of smartphones, you just click, take a little shot of the screen, and you got your password saved right there.
Yeah. I see here on the reception, it says some outlets have said the game does not capture the arcade version of the game well, making it nearly an entirely different game from its arcade counterpart. Did you ever play the arcade version?
Never. I honestly didn't even know this was an arcade game until I started reading about this game the other night.
Interesting.
Actually, I didn't read about it. I watched a review of it from someone on YouTube, and that's how I found out that there was actually an arcade, but this was not a port of the arcade. This was a complete different game altogether, which I found really interesting. I wonder if they ever made the arcade version available, like as a port for something.
Yeah, let's see. It doesn't say anything about it being released for like a virtual console or anything. It just says it's included in the Game Boy Advance compilation, which is kind of unusual.
Well, I know they came out with a Strider remake a couple of years ago, and I think it was for the Xbox or the Xbox 360. It says here there's Strider 2014 video game. for Microsoft Windows, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, Xbox 360, and Xbox One in 2014. But I thought there was another one earlier than that. I could be mistaken. In 2009, a Strider reboot was in development by Grin. However, due to financial difficulties that bankrupted the company, the game was canceled. I remember actually, I think it might have been, what's the game magazine that they used to get from GameStop? Was it Game Informer or?
Yeah, Game Informer.
I remember seeing it in that, and there was some really cool screenshots from it, but I guess it never came out, so that's weird.
That is weird. I didn't even know there was a remake.
And at the time when I was a kid, I used to get this game and Bionic Commando mixed up. And this could be a false memory, but I think I had actually gone to rent Bionic Commando, but I got this instead and thought I played Bionic Commando. But I remember liking this game so much, I actually bought it. I don't know what happened to my copy of it. I actually picked up a copy of this at the Play and Talk a few months ago. I think I paid like maybe $8 for it, and it's almost a perfect copy of it. So you can pick up a copy of this for really cheap from a retro store, like less than $10 for a good copy of it.
I'll have to keep my eye out for it because there's this new. It's not new, but it's new to me here in town called the Video Game Trading Post, and they have a ton of games. But they also have old strategy guides. They have consoles. They have classic memorabilia. And the cool thing is, every game they have, they're individually wrapped.
Wow!
So and they're in good condition too.
That's awesome.
And sure enough, I went there today, like right before they were about to close. Like they said, I could look around, but they had already shut like all their systems down, so I couldn't buy anything.
Oh.
Guess what they had sitting like right in front of the SNES section?
Metroid?
Mortal Kombat.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I was like, oh, you guys are a week late on that, but thanks.
How much did they want for it?
I like $10.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
No, and
I'd pay $10 for it.
The cartridge looked great. It was like in mint condition and wrapped, so I knew that it'd be in good shape. But I was like, well, I'll come back and get it. But I just thought the irony in that was kind of funny.
I wanted to take a trip over to the Play and Talk the other day because I was really just in the mood to get something new. I just got a couple of games the other day, so I think I might have a problem.
No, you could be doing much worse things.
Yeah, so I could be, doing drugs or something, but I spend all my money on retro games. I don't know which is worse. Because they'll both make you go broke, I guess.
Yeah.
But one won't kill me, I guess. There's the upside.
Yeah.
And I guess you can't sell used heroin when you're an old man too, and you need money for the nursing home.
That's very true.
If I make it to be an old man.
So what would you give this game, like a number grade?
Out of 10, I mean, it gets a good 7. I mean, it's a solid C. I will, if it had at least had a save system, that would bump it up to a B. But just the fact that it's kind of cryptic and really kind of hard to figure out what it is you're supposed to be doing really kind of knocks it down. And the controls are a little wonky. They're not as smooth as I remember them being as a kid. I said, there's like a lot of jumping in this game. There's a lot of it's a platformer. So there's a lot of going up and down and, platform to platform. And I'm trying to make these jumps and you got to hit it just a certain, there's really no guarantee that you're going to make the big, there's sometimes you hit it and he just kind of hops, but then you really gnash down on the A button and he makes this huge jump. But there's no guarantee, you know what I'm saying? It's you just kind of hit the A button and pray that you make the jump. There's no guarantee. I did a lot of dying the other night because I just couldn't make certain jumps.
Yeah.
So that's really going to ding you if you can't get the jump button right. If you have a lot of platforming, you need to have one solid jump that's easy to control. Like that's a must-have for platformers.
Yeah. It's key, if you will.
And you can't have a wonky jump system where like you hit the key and you pray.
No, you cannot. That's because jumping's kind of crucial in that genre.
Yeah. So if you can get past that, it's a really good looking game. The music's awesome. I mean, you heard the menu music that I played at the beginning of the segment. It's really good. Capcom always had some of the best music, along with I think Konami and Capcom had some of the best music for the NES, and Konami got around that by putting a separate chip inside the game cartridges to kind of boost the power of the music chip in the NES, which made their music that much better. And I forgot what there was a documentary on YouTube about that, about the how Konami got such really good music on the NES, and it was really interesting. I wish I could remember what it was. But one more thing I wanted to talk about before we go tonight, and it's about I retweeted it earlier today on the Nerd Cave Retro Twitter at Nerd Cave Retro. Today, Kotaku released that Netflix's Castlevania anime will return this summer with 8 new episodes. So yeah, good job, Netflix. Good job.
For those who haven't watched it yet, definitely go watch Castlevania on Netflix. It's really good.
Yeah. And there's only 4 episodes, and they're only like 25 minutes apiece, so it only takes you like an hour and 45 minutes to watch the whole thing. So if you haven't watched it, like, what's wrong with you? Go look at it, like, right now.
Yeah. Have that be the perfect way to kick off your work week.
Absolutely. But yeah, Strider's a good game. I recommend it. Should be in your collection. It's probably not going to be a game you're going to play all the time. 7 out of 10. Solid 7. So take that for what it's worth. If you don't like the game, then I'm sorry, because I know there's probably a lot of people that don't like this game because of the way it is. But I'll forgive some of the wonky controls just because it is such an interesting game.
I like it. But next week, I will be reviewing our first Game Boy game on this podcast. Yep, I will be reviewing the original Pokemon games, Red, Blue, and Yellow. Some will say Yellow is not an original game, but it's technically the same game as Red and Blue, but with elements of the anime mixed into it, so I'm going to throw that in as well.
Oh, and something interesting about the Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow for the Game Boy. It's one of the few games where the clock constantly ticks on the actual cartridge. So that's why the batteries don't last as long as, say, batteries in, like, Legend of Zelda or any of the old NES titles. So you have to replace the batteries in the cartridge for the Game Boy version of Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow.
I did not know that.
Mm-hmm. I had just heard about that not too long ago, and I thought that was really interesting.
That is very interesting.
Because there's a clock that's always running in the game. So
that is true, yeah.
The clock is always ticking in the cartridge, so it's going to wear down the battery faster than any other game.
Wow. I did not know that.
Of course, I should have saved that little bit of information for next week, but
it's all good. It's all good.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, I'll be reviewing that next week.
And after that, I think I'm not sure what I'm going to do, but I think I might want to do Rygar, because I did play that for a while earlier this week, and that is a really fun game. Like, way more fun than I thought it would be.
Sweet.
Oh, either that or Hudson's Adventure Island, which is really fun too. I forgot how much I love playing that game.
I've actually never heard of that one. I've heard of Rygar. Because I think Joey Image talked about that when he was on the show.
You know what? I'm going to see if Joey Image wants to be on the show for the week after next, so we can talk about. If he wants to be on the show, we'll talk about Rygar. If he can't be on the show that night, then I will do Adventure Island. How about that?
Cool.
And also, go ahead and tell everybody now, coming up in February, we do have some weekends that are going to be a little wonky. We may have a couple of episodes that won't be there because I will be going to Disney in the middle of the month. And also, Derek and I both have Pensacon coming up February 23rd, 24th, 25th.
That is correct.
And we're gonna try to get something recorded while we're at Pensacon, but if not, we apologize for having a couple of episodes off. But we'll do what we can to get some episodes in there. But February is gonna be a full month.
Yeah, it's gonna be actually the next couple of months are gonna be pretty busy.
Yeah. But was there anything else you wanted to pimp before we get out of here tonight?
Sure. So I mentioned at the beginning of the show that my other show, The Derek Diamond Experience, is going to be, it's almost like a phoenix rising from the ashes, if you will, because I thought like 2 months ago my show was dead in the water. and it's weird because like now people are actually like wanting to be on it, which I'm still kind of getting used to. So I'm going to be doing 4 live shows in 2 weeks.
Whoa!
But I'll just plug the first 2, which are happening this week, and I'll plug the other 2 the following week. So this upcoming Wednesday, I'll be doing a roundtable with some friends of mine about the study of cryptozoology, like the study of Bigfoot, Chupacabra, all like the mythical creatures and everything. So that should be a lot of fun.
And that's so cool because I've been on an X-Files kick the last week too. So
oh, cool!
I'm like really getting into all that like weird stuff again.
Well, if your Wednesday is free, we'll be going live at 7:30. So anybody who wants to join in, just go to facebook.com/ddiamondpodcast and comment, ask questions. We love interacting with the Facebook Live audience. And then the next day, which will be Thursday the 25th, I will be interviewing a local sketch comedy group called Kitty Get a Job. They're about to launch a Kickstarter for a TV pilot they're shooting.
Wow.
So they'll be on. They're cool guys. They're all from here, and they do really good work. You should check them out on Facebook at Kitty Get a Job. They do like different sketches every month, and they're really good. Like they're good quality. They're funny. The acting's pretty good. So I'll be plugging their Kickstarter and just talking film stuff. So you'll get 2 Facebook Live episodes this week, and then the audio versions will be released later on down the line.
That's awesome.
But that's what I got.
As far as Pop Culture Palette goes, we just released an episode just a couple days ago. So go head over to pcpradio.com, or you can follow us on Twitter at PCP Show. We got into a discussion about YouTube changing their advertising policy and what that's going to mean moving forward. And my prediction is a lot of people are going to be jumping over to other services like Twitch. And I think I actually just heard the other day that Amazon just trademarked 2 different site names for, I think it's called like Amazon Tube and something else. And I can't remember what it was. So I think now that YouTube's going to be taking a lot of their advertising stuff out of the way, there's going to be a lot more services popping up like YouTube coming up in the next year or 2. So if you want to hear us talk about that, head over and listen to our last episode where we talked about that for quite a while. But other than that, go ahead. I
also enjoyed your guys' discussion about Kevin Smith's theory on why people don't like The Last Jedi.
Yeah, we talked about that too. It's a pretty good theory. That I kind of had the same theory after the movie as well about, people have certain expectations for Star Wars, and this movie did not meet people's expectations. And that's the thing. So many people have an idea of what they thought the movie was going to be. All we saw for the last 2 years was YouTube videos about, who is Snoke? Snoke's going to be this. This is a theory. Oh, this is a leaked script from The Last Jedi. It wasn't none of those things. It took all that stuff and said, meh. It literally took the lightsaber and threw it over the shoulder of the previous movies. And now we don't know what to think for the next movie. I literally have no theories for the next movie. I don't know where we're going. I don't know what we're doing. And you know what? I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, we had, kind of going back to my other show, we did a debate about The Last Jedi that went like 90 minutes.
Yeah.
And I mean, we didn't change, each other's minds about whether we liked or disliked the movie, but it's always a good discussion to have because that movie is so polarizing. Like I'll meet one person that loves it and the next person I talk to can't stand it.
You know what I think it is? I think we're going to look back on that movie fondly in the next 10 to 20 years as the movie that changed Star Wars for the better. Because really, think about it. I mean, there's a lot of crap Star Wars stuff that have happened before. Yeah. I'm sorry, the prequels were not good. There were good things about them, but they were not good movies.
I've got a feeling we might be getting one in a few months, too.
I don't know. I'm going to give Ron Howard the benefit of the doubt, and maybe he saved that movie. And I think it's going to be better than we think it's going to be. But if it's not, I'm not going to be heartbroken. But I think Last Jedi is going to be the movie we look back on and be like, all right, this is where things changed. For better or worse, This is where it all changed to where we can go out and expand beyond the Skywalker storyline. Because I don't know about you, I loved the storylines of Knights of the Old Republic, those games. Like those took place 2,000 years before the Star Wars storyline that we know now. And I was just as much into that as I was, Star Wars. So I want to see different storylines. I want to see other people, like what happens in the, outside the Skywalker family of what happens in the entire galaxy.
It's a big galaxy. Other people live in it besides the Skywalkers.
Exactly. But this is a discussion for a whole other show. So
yeah,
let's leave that one where it lies. But that's going to do it for this week. So let me go ahead and play our music here. If you would like to email us, you can email us at nerdcaveretro@gmail.com. We're at nerdcaveretro.com. We're on Instagram and Twitter at nerdcaveretro, at jfunktastic, at Derek_Diamond. And we're on Facebook at facebook.com/nerdcaveretro. And also don't forget to go leave us a review on iTunes or wherever you download the show from. It's only going to help us out. Give us a 5-star review or even a 1-star review if you don't like us. Just go review it. I don't care. And we'll read it on the show. So Derek, tell them what it's all about.
May the way of the hero lead to the Triforce.
Yes.
You've been listening to a Nerd Cave Network production.
Well, that was fun.
Yay.
Let's see. Let me go ahead and stop our stream here for Twitch. And thank you for those who watched us tonight. And you can catch the show also when I load it up on YouTube later. You can go watch it on YouTube. And leave us a review or whatever you want to do. Get a hold of us. At Nerd Cave Retro is pretty much the best place to get a hold of us. So thank you everybody on Twitch. And we will see you later. Bye.